Okay, so for those of you who just joined the webinar, it looks like we have hundreds of people on this particular webinar already, so that's exciting. What I'd like to do now is kind of transition into our presentation, and we're just going to click forward on our presentation here, and I'm going to show you, this is a slide that may be familiar to you. By the way, I'm going to open it up for a minute. Now, over on the right side of the screen, we've got sponsorship and placement. A sponsor is essentially somebody who signs up a new distributor or sponsors them or recruits them into the business. To sponsor someone means you're kind of responsible to get them up and started and teach them how the business works, get them hooked up with their, show them how to get a website, show them how to get on the training calls, introduce them to the other upline members, and then when you sponsor somebody, you basically, you're taking responsibility for that person being underneath you. You get special incentives for the number of people you sponsor, and if somebody you sponsor becomes a top leader, generally most compensation plans will reward you for that activity. However, there's also in most compensation plans, there's the ability to have a separate placement. You could sponsor somebody, say, on your front line and place them down on your third line. That's common with a lot of companies. Now, in a binary plan, it might be something like you sponsor them to yourself but place them down 20 generations because you might put them down in a power leg. Or in a matrix plan, you take personal sponsorship and you place them on your fourth generation because your third level is filled and it's a forced matrix. We'll talk about some of those things in a minute, but sponsorship and placement are two separate things. Group sales volume basically means all of the volume that you and the distributors in your downline produce. Now, sometimes this definition is cut off at your last level. So if you have, let's say, a 7-generation breakaway, all of those groups, all of the breakaway groups, 1 through 7 generations, you get paid on, and maybe the 8th you don't. Or in a unilevel plan, you might get 7 generations, not necessarily levels, but generations of qualifications on your group sales volume. So that's what you're paid on. And a group sales quota is how much group sales you have to do in order to qualify for certain amounts of checks. It's real popular maybe in a breakaway type plan. And we'll talk more about that as we get into some of those plans. But that just means your group, all of your entire group that makes sales, that's the total group volume that you produce in a given month. Usually these are all based on months. Upline, downline. Upline is essentially your sponsorship line, or the people who brought you into the business, their sponsor, and their sponsor, all the way up to the company. And then downline means everybody you sponsor and everybody they sponsor and they sponsor and they sponsor. So everybody from you down is downline, everyone from you up is upline. Auto order or auto ship is something common in companies. As a matter of fact, it's a requirement in any legitimate company. I've never seen any company survive that didn't have an auto ship program. So if you think auto ship, oh, you're talking about my company, we've got auto ship. Trust me, they all do. All the legitimate companies have auto shipment or auto order programs. Retention and attrition. Retention basically means keeping something. Attrition means losing something. Retention for distributors or retention for product or customers means that you're keeping your customers, keeping your distributors. Attrition means the amount of people that you're losing, or an attrition rate might be the percentage by which you're losing distributors or customers on a monthly, weekly, maybe even an annual basis. And that becomes one of the most important numbers that I look at when I'm evaluating compensation plans. That really tells a big story to see how many people are being lost every year based on a particular compensation structure. Let's talk specifically about the different types of compensation plans in the industry.